Dropping down a bunch of electro powers at the right moment. Never know what's going to happen. And then on the right, you have Jose Marrero. It's great to see Jose in the top 4 of the international championships. He's one of those grinders who travels the world, plays in these tournaments all the time, and he's yet to have that one big finish. And now here he is, knocking on the door, just one match away from making it to the finals.
Yeah, it's really impressive stuff from Jose, how he can go to all these events week in, week out. Never discouraged, always looking to get more victories under his belt, and this could be his most impressive result yet. Speaking of results, let's take a quick look at what Isaiah's done previous to this tournament. He's not too shabby of a player himself. Top 4 of the US Nationals back in 2014, a Dallas regional finalist, as well as a top 8 in Portland regionals. And you can see there the 4 cards that really do signify what his deck is all about. Literally just spamming the use of Thunderous Assault whilst using as many Stellar Wish abilities as possible to really make your hand grow and grow into big threatening turns that can come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it is very bizarre to see Isaiah not using Zoroark GX. He has basically exclusively used that card in both Standard and Expanded to great success. And now we see him on the Zapdos Jirachi train, and you see why. He's switched from Zoroark to Zapdos and made it all the way to the top 4.
Still trying to use as many abilities as possible, but this time just from a basic.
And just a smaller Zoroark.
Yeah, essentially that's what he's using. For Jose, he's had plenty of results under his belt as well. Let's get a quick look at some of those previous finishes from him. Top 16 at US Nationals in 2013. This player has been around for a long time, as we've already mentioned. Lots of regional finalist results, and also a Georgia State champion in 2016.
Yeah, and both these players are just very fun to be around. Jose is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, always got a smile on his face, loves to joke around. Isaiah the same way. So it's hard not to root for both of these guys. We should see an excellent matchup, and hopefully we can get this underway, and we'll see which player will go to the finals first.
These two at this point in the tournament will be very familiar with what the other is playing.
Ooh.
That's pretty ugly. 2 copies of Guzma and 2 copies of Professor Kukui.
Okay.
Not great there for Isaiah. Let's see how the prizes shape up for Jose. That's a lot more reasonable, as he does play 2 copies of Marshadow for Let Loosing. Nothing too painful for him. And we'll see who gets to win the coin flip and who gets to go first here. It's interesting, we've seen other builds of the Pikachu and Zekrom GX decks incorporating some elements of Zapdos, but Jose just has one mode, and it's just all GX focused.
So Jose did win the ever-important coin flip, so he will go first. He does open up with that Oranguru, and we see the Acro Bike. This is all about burning through your deck as quickly as possible, playing Acro Bikes, playing Marshadow to let loose, and just trying to set up that turn 2 Pikachu and Zekrom GX full blitz and say, hey, you got to deal with this. If you can, well played.
Yes.
But if not, I'm going to run you over with this huge 240 HP basic Pokemon.
And even against non-GX decks, if you're using Let Loose and giving someone a slow start, you can simply bench people for a win condition if they don't get enough basics down on their board. Isaiah only with 1 Jirachi on his field at the moment. We see Jose opting for a Zeraora GX for his early turns. This card is very important in this deck. Part of the combination in many regards, because you can simply attach to whatever active Pokemon you start with and get it out of that active spot. When you have so many energy switching cards, you never really mind committing energy anywhere in this deck because you can throw them onto the correct target later down the line. So you're never too punished by just throwing energies where you like.
Yeah, this reminds me of an old combo or trick that we used to see with Darkrai EX with that Dark Cloak ability, where you would attach an energy to the active, it would get free retreat, so then you retreat to the thing you want to attack with, and then you energy switch to move the energy over there. Just the flexibility that an ability like Zeraora GX's Thunderclap Zone gives you.
You still have even more actions coming from Jose. He's holding on to a Pikachu and Zekrom Tag Team GX in his hand.
Boy, that looks
also
terrible.
An Acrobike. But no, he's just going to pass it over.
His hand looks pretty bad. He's got a lot of energy switches, but not a lot of energy to switch.
Go figure. Like 6 energy switches. Yeah.
And no let loose.
No.
Nothing really disruptive on the first turn. Just played an energy and passed. That's not what you expect from this explosive deck.
We do see Isaiah kicking off his turn with that Stellar Wish from the off. Looks like he's Lilying, but his hand is full of lilies as well. Potentially has to Cynthia instead here.
You love having an opening hand with a Lily in it, but when you have 3 of them, that means that's a bunch of cards you can't play. So it's a draw to you have 8 cards in your hand, but if you have 5 or 6 cards you can't play, then Well, you rather Cynthia.
Looking a little unlikely now that Isaiah will be able to take a prize card this turn, Oranguru with 120 hit points, and doing 80 damage to the Oranguru doesn't feel great either. So from this 6, he'd love to find himself, ideally, something like an escape rope. Even getting some prior damage on Absol wouldn't be too shabby. Anything that's not the Oranguru, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, if I'm Isaiah, I'm a little nervous. If I don't find a basic Pokemon, this game could be over pretty quickly, but looks like he does draw into both a Jirachi and a Nest Ball.
They're back as well. All the lilies are there. No energy cards for Isaiah, though, so no attack coming down this turn, unless he was somehow able to use his Jirachi to Stellar Wish into his 1 copy of Energy Lotto. But
yeah, it looks like he won't get an attack off, which is honestly pretty disappointing when you're playing this deck. You build it to make it as consistent as possible. The Absol on Jose's side is throwing a wrench in Isaiah's plans a little bit. You know, if the Absol weren't there, he could retreat to the other Jirachi. Thanks to the escape board, use another Stellar Wish, but because of that Absol's ability, it's adding 1 more retreat cost to the Jirachi, and it's unable to retreat.
Such a simple 1-card tech inclusion that really helps out in a matchup that is going to be so prevalent and popular by the looks of things, as so many people have brought Zapdos Jirachi to the table, and so many other decks are adding in Jirachi as well. The Absol has got incredible value for all the players choosing to tech it into their list this weekend.
So Isaiah does play the escape rope. Jose sends out the Absol, and he's going to use another Stellar Wish here. He's got 3 of a kind at least.
Does he have to take another Cynthia here just to get a better supporter? I feel like that might genuinely be his route, but he's just going to grab the Choice Band instead.
Yeah, I guess next turn, if you can Stellar Wish into an Ultra Ball or something like that, you can discard some of those excess lilies you have in your hand. Yeah, not a great start at all. Misses an energy attachment. The Absol on Jose's side, slowing things down a bit. And that's exactly what Jose wants to see. He didn't want to see an attack come from Isaiah's side on the first turn. We do see Shrine of Punishment, so there's going to be 1 damage counter placed onto the Zeraora GX between turns. But all in all, not too bad if you're sitting on Jose's side.
2 of the most aggressive decks having 2 fairly awful opening turns. The Acrobike for Jose does get him into Let Loose, though. Isaiah wouldn't mind that when there's the amount of lilies that he has in his hand. Here comes the first Tag Team GX Pokemon from Jose, committed to the field. Giving up 3 prize cards is always a little risky, but as we say, Jose has fully teched out his deck in terms of going all in on the combo of getting this Pikachu and Zekrom off. He has no plan B here.
Yeah, Jose's got 2 Electro Powers in hand, and he might just be thinking, you know what, Electro Power is not good in this matchup. I'm pretty much getting 1-hit knockouts on all of Isaiah's Pokemon anyway, so why not just play him? Jose, when we say he's all in, he doesn't even play things like Zapdos.
No.
He's just playing all big GXs, trying to let loose his opponent down to a low hand size, and then just barrel over the opponent with that Pikachu and Zekrom GX. But both players so far are stumbling a bit, and their strategies are just not working the way they want them to.
It's good to see from Isaiah there. He even chuckled and showed Jose the 3 lilies that he was sat on. They're still good friends at the end of the day, and even in this high-pressure top 4 situation where there is so much on the line, they're still able to have fun here. As we're going to see the Let Loose from Jose, let's see what else he can achieve this turn. It would still require a good amount of things if he was to get a big attack off this turn.
Yeah, no supporter card, though. Already attached energy for the turn to that Absol, and it's just going to be a pass, probably.
He's got some Instruct draw, potentially.
Oh, true. He can Instruct from 1 card. He's already played his energy.
Yeah.
Could play the Guzma to draw an extra card here. Guzma out the Zapdos, perhaps.
Just the one.
Oh,
Tapu Koko GX from where I'm sitting.
that's not a good draw there.
Just going to see the retreats for free from the Absol. Trying to protect it, as I would love to take the knockout on the Absol. Obviously, 1 energy off the board, as well as it being a real pain for his own Jirachis. So Jose going to protect it and bring up the Marshadow for Isaiah to take out next turn.
Man, I was expecting to see some quick, hard-hitting action, and so far it is greatly disappointed.
They've promised so much. They've all been saying how they can get these turn 1 and turn 2 full blitz into Tag Bolt, and even Isaiah's Zapdos promises so often to go for a Thunderous Assault on turn 1. Both players not getting the ideal starts.
Yeah, I mean, Jose's top 8 match lasted like 10 minutes. It was a Pikachu and Zekrom mirror match. And like before anyone else finished their first game, Jose had won his match.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice to have that feeling that the games go quick and it's win or lose, fast games. And sometimes that's indicative of let loose. You just got to try and ride the wave sometimes. Get yourself as set up as possible and then just try and steal games from people, even when they have answers in their own deck list to try and beat your archetype. If you just give them the low hand size, you close the game out in too many turns.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that. A deck like Isaiah's, where you're constantly using Jirachi and figuring out which trainer cards to take and needing to sequence things in the correct order, I mean, that can be exhausting over the course of a weekend. I mean, he's done it pretty much flawlessly over the weekend, but you could see at some point just the mental fatigue can add up. Whereas if you're playing Jose's deck, where it's kind of a one-track deck, where you're just like, yeah, full blitz, your turn, that can be good for your longevity over the course of the weekend, where you're just doing the same thing over and over and hoping it gets you there.
I'm sure it's helped him out throughout this weekend. As you said, he's just had a nice 40-minute break. He can chill out, have a snack, have a drink. These things we are all humans, and these things are big advantages, really. Isaiah's had to sit through a grueling hour and straight back into another grueling hour of playing Pokemon. So these small advantages are a big deal in these high-level situations.
So Jose has an Ultra Ball in hand. He could play it down here and get another Marshadow, but looks like he's going for Tapu Koko GX here.
Here it comes. All three energies onto the Tapu Koko GX. Sky High Claws, obviously enough to deal with the Zapdos.
And again,
one more Instruct.
Yeah, just Instruct for one card, trying desperately to find some supporter card to draw some extra cards. He doesn't play a lot. He's got 3 Cynthia, 3 Lily, and 1 Erica's Hospitality.
And he's prized his other Marshadow, let's not forget. So this Ultra Ball can't get him Marshadow, which is definitely awkward. He does play 1 Tapu Lele GX in his list as well. Gonna see the Ultra Ball here.
Yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of the time when you see this Pikachu and Zekrom deck, players shy away from putting down their Pokemon GX because you don't really want to have that negative trade-off where your opponent's using single prize attackers to knock out your GXs and getting multiple prize cards. But Jose has no fear. He's just benching every single GX he can find. He's got Tapu Koko out there, Zeraora, Pikachu and Zekrom, and now Tapu Lele. He's just saying, hey, my deck only knows how to do one thing, attack as hard as I can. And if you can deal with it, then congrats. But I'm going to put the pressure on.
Yeah, some of the other Pikachu Zekroms have tried to go a little halfway house, have some element of non-GX, but in mirror match situations, you'll just have way more clunk in your builds. When you look at Isaiah's, it's so pure in just Zapdos, just Jirachi, and all the switching options available. It feels like you'll be at a disadvantage if you try and do what they're trying to do, because they'll be able to do it better than you. So Jose's trying to go for a different route and just make sure his deck's doing the best it can do and hope that that's enough to win in a situation like this, as he takes his first prize card of the game to level up the race right now. Shrine of Punishment's still going to be putting some extra damage and putting things into a slightly better range for Isaiah, which is definitely an advantage he's gaining over these turns.
Yeah, that's a major point in this game so far. Jose has been unable to get rid of that Shrine of Punishment, and it's slowly chipping away at all those GXs on his field. At some point, that's going to add up and make it easier for Zapdos to knock out those big GXs. And even though it only does 80 damage with that Thunderous Assault, when you have things like Shrine of Punishment slowly adding damage, you have Choice Band adding 30 damage, Electro Power adding 30 damage, you can see how this simple Zapdos card can be the powerhouse of this deck.
Isaiah picking up an Ultra Ball with his first Stellar Wish of the turn. It's not out of his range to knock out this Tapu Koko GX at all. It's actually not too unlikely, really. There's already a Choice Band on his Zapdos. There's already 1 Electro Power in his hand. The Absol's pretty much the only thing making life difficult for Isaiah right now.
Yeah, we could see Isaiah pull off a Tapu Koko GX of his own. He does play one of those in his deck. One of the few tech cards he is running in this deck. You have the Tapu Koko Prism Star using Dance of the Ancients to get 2 Lightning Energy onto your benched Pokemon. And then you slam down Tapu Koko GX, Arrow Trail, and use Tapu Thunder GX for a knockout. It's a great way to respond to opposing Pikachu and Zekrom GX after they've used full Blitz. If they were gutsy enough to get 6 energy in play, they get immediately punished by Tapu Thunder GX.
It looks like that's what he's eyeing up this turn. The Tapu Koko GX is already in hand. Thanks to that Ultra Ball, there are now 2 Lightning Energies in his discard pile, so the Dance of the Ancients going to get the full value here he can put them onto his Jirachi and Zapdos simply to Aero Trail them into his new active, which will be his own GX Pokemon. He's also got the manual attachment as well, which he can throw basically anywhere, seeing as though the Tapu Koko can steal all those energies for himself.
Looks like he's going to go with the Electro Power. This way he can just sky-high claws for the knockout. He could also attack with Zapdos. It's going to be a little bit off, I believe. Yeah, it'll just do, well, just 140 damage.
Yeah.
And then 10 from the Shrine of Punishment, so not quite enough.
He knows that Jose does not play any healing cards, so he's hoping that maybe just doing enough damage to this will put Jose in range of just a Shrine eventually getting him there. So some disciplined play from Isaiah when there's a knockout in your hand and you choose not to go for it just because you want to stay as non-GX as possible. It's good discipline, and it's respect, really, for Jose's build that it can get all these energies out of anywhere as well.
Yeah, and even if Jose does have a counter stadium this turn, at some point, Isaiah's going to find another Shrine of Punishment, and that will finish off that Tapu Koko GX. So even though it looks a little strange to not take the knockout here, I think it's going to work out all right. Some of these Pikachu and Zekrom decks could run things like Acerola or Max Potion, where this play would really get punished, but doesn't look like Jose is running any of those cards.
They were definitely some cards that we saw involved in the Japanese builds initially. We saw even just one copy of Acerola or one copy of Max Potion alongside Volkner's. But it feels to me that every one of the lists that we've seen this weekend, they've just stripped them away and gone even more combo-orientated. It does feel awkward when you see these sorts of situations where it would be such a big swing in the matchup. And it's almost that people disrespected the Jirachi Zapdos archetype coming into this tournament in many ways. We've seen so few players running Alolan Muck to shut down Jirachi, and so few players running healing cards. Only really exclusively Zoroark trying to do those things.
Oh boy, okay. So you see Jose retreating to a Pikachu and Zekrom GX that has 0 energy on it. And you might think, is this guy insane? And then he plays an energy switch. And then he plays another energy switch. And just like that, Pikachu and Zekrom GX is powered up.
Here we go. From
and that's
3 energy to, 7.
That's one argument you can make for knocking out that Tapu Koko GX. If you can wipe out all the energy on Jose's side, it really takes away his options. But, I mean, right now it looks like Isaiah's in full control of this game. At the end of the turn, Tapu Koko GX will be knocked out by the Shrine of Punishment. That Pikachu and Zekrom GX is going to continue to build up damage with that Shrine of Punishment in play. And let's not forget, Isaiah still has Tapu Koko GX in hand if Jose gets a little too greedy with this full blitz.
Full blitz, and he is going to start searching through his deck here.
Oh boy.
Obviously, he has the consideration. There are 2 lightning energies here, but even with 3 lightning energies on his board, it's still not out of Isaiah's range to use a Tapu Thunder. So
Joe.
he's just saying, yep, if you've got it, go for it, man. Jeez.
Like we were saying, this deck has 1 speed, 1 mode.
This is just straight up game as long as Isaiah can find a lightning energy.
Yep, Tapu Koko GX is knocked out by the Shrine of Punishment. Isaiah gets 2 prize cards. That means he's got 3 remaining. And that means all he needs is that Tapu Koko GX plus an energy. And we're going to see Tapu Thunder finish off this first game.
There's Thunder Mountain. That counts as an energy card for him.
That'll do it too. We see the Arrow Trail from Tapu Koko GX, Thunder Mountain, and boom! Tapu Thunder GX for 300 damage and a 3 prize card knockout. Isaiah's going to take the first game with ease.
Tapu Koko GX. Always one of these cards that screamed potential when you first saw it come out way back in Guardians Rising. But it's only been now when we have the Tapu Koko Prism Star helping you out in getting even more energies on the field for this guy to just be a one-of tech option to knock out even the chunkiest of tag team Pokemon in the right situation.
Yeah, and that Tapu Koko GX might seem like a very odd inclusion in a deck that's pretty much all non-GX attackers, but when you're running just Zapdos and nothing else, you can run into situations where your opponent goes, okay, turn 2, Pikachu and Zekrom, knock out your Pokemon, get 6 energy in play, and you're like, oh, it's going to take me 2 or 3 turns to knock out. And having the option to just go, well, here's Tapu Koko GX, Tapu Thunder, take 3 prizes, wipe out all 6 of your energy. that's a huge swing in the game, and it just gives you that option to deal with a quick tag team GX.
And it just makes complete sense for Pikachu and Zekrom being such a popular and hyped up deck going into this tournament. A one-card inclusion that can really improve those exact situations just is so versatile and helpful. And even in other matchups, when you see some Zoroark players wanting to let their Lycanroc get into the game, you can really stop them just getting extra attachments and leave them with just one double colorless energy on their field for the majority of the game. You're basically starving them of resources in a way. Such a powerful card in this new meta.
All right, so we're starting up game number 2. Jose is going to go first. Joe, what does Jose have to do differently in this game to have a shot in this matchup?
It's difficult to say, really. He needs a powerful let loose on his side, I believe, much more so than last game. He let loose himself harder than Isaiah in many ways in that first game. He got himself supportless, just one acro bike into not much else. So he needs his own Marshmallow to be a little bit kinder for him. And I think, he still has this one goal in mind. He has to try and get his Pikachu and Zekrom, sometimes multiple, retreat out of them, hope that you force Isaiah to have Electro Powers in combinations with Guzma's and just make life awkward for him. Let the 240 hit points of Pikachu and Zekrom tank a hit here or there and just be enough to win the game.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, it's certainly a 3-prize liability to use Pikachu and Zekrom GX, but if you can get 3 prize cards worth of value out of it, you full blitz 1 Pokemon, and then you get the Tag Bolt GX, knocking out 2 more Pokemon, then it's fine. Then you're trading 3 for 3, and it's really not that bad. So I think that's what you got to go for. Just hope you can power up Pikachu and Zekrom, and maybe it'll make it through a turn. That's all you really need.
And if the let loose is perfect, then it could even win on turn 1 or 2.
Exactly.
So that's what you're really hoping for.
So unfortunate starter for Jose here. Starts with that Marshadow with Let Loose. Of course, you cannot use the ability if you start with it. It's only when you play it from your hand onto your bench. So probably a little bit disappointing to start with that. He would love to let loose in his first turn, but never mind. He's just going to do it anyway.
It was an ugly enough hand where the Lily getting 1 or 2 cards isn't good enough for you. You've got to use your second Marshadow and let loose off the bat. Isaiah, once again, has a Jirachi lead, which is ideal for him. Gives him somewhat of a safety net against this. But Jose himself just needed a better hand regardless.
This is kind of a scary situation if you're Jose. I mean, all you did is play down Marshadow, let loose. You got a ton of cards in your deck. You don't have that Jirachi fallback that Isaiah does. This could be a quick series if Jose destroys his own hand with let loose.
This could legitimately be just energy switches and multi-switches. There's 4 cards. There's so many. As you said, the deck is so thick. He's only played 2 cards out of his deck so far. And you saw him giving his hand a little rub before looking at it. Ooh, that does not look great. I see Absol. I see 1 energy switch. That's not great.
Oh boy. Yeah, we see a Tapu Koko GX, an energy switch. Oh no. Jose, he let loose a little too hard, 1 too many times. And he has left himself with an unplayable hand. And now it's up to Isaiah to see if he can respond here.
That really is an abysmal let loose from Jose. The deck does need to roll the dice sometimes, and you can't argue that the Lily only getting 1 or 2 cards wasn't the strongest.
Yeah.
But that is absolutely terrible draws from him. He wasn't able to get his own Oranguru down even to maybe have some Instruct as a safety net. He had nothing going on in that hand. Isaiah has a Guzma in his own hand off the Stellar Wish now, so the Zapdos is guaranteed to take a knockout. The one thing Jose was able to develop was his own Absol, forcing this Guzma. The escape board not enough, but...
Yeah, Isaiah's just going to be able to Guzma knock out the Marshadow, but after that, his hand is pretty bad. So he's going to be pretty reliant on this top deck. Well, not the top deck, but the prize card and the draw for the next turn. If he doesn't draw a supporter, I mean, he'll be stuck with his Zapdos active.
Let's see.
He'll only do 10 damage.
Jose picks up Thunder Mountain. Ugh. That's not it. That's not the one.
Not at all.
It might even just be pass. I'm not sure what's the safest. Is the Marshadow safest in the active, or the energy, is that's safest in the active or the bench, with Isaiah playing 3 switch and 3 escape rope and 3 more Guzma.
Isaiah top decks the Lily for the turn.
That's absolutely massive. He's able to get himself 5 fresh cards, looking for
draws into the switch.
Yep. Now with Absol knocked out, That's enough to let him get back into his Jirachi, Stellar Wish again, and take another prize card this turn. This is really horrible scenes to see for Jose.
Yeah, and perfect situation for Isaiah. Able to switch into Jirachi so he can get the Zapdos to the bench, reset that Thunderous Assault, use a Stellar Wish while the Jirachi's up there, and then retreat back and take another prize card here. And as you said, it's going to take out the energy on the Marshadow as well, so kind of eliminating any of those Tapu Koko GX plays or one of the many energy switches Jose has in his deck. It's just looking like Isaiah's going to run away with this. And, you know, it's probably a relief for him that he finally gets a quick match in what's been a grueling day of hour-long matches with this non-GX deck.
It's really good to see him as well, really thinking hard about that Stellar Wish. Sometimes when you see your opponent doing so poorly with their hands, you could get overexcited and just be taking those prizes one after the other and trying to just win the game as quickly as possible. In this case, he's really agonizing over his choices and making sure that if Jose is ever going to mount a comeback, you still have the answers in your hands. So it may feel a moot point, him getting the Guzma at this stage in the game when he's already fairly far ahead, but you just got to keep chugging along and get as many uses out of your Jirachi as possible to put yourself in an even better position. No matter how good Jose's hand is, you're just going to continue to have the answers. We're seeing him nestballing out another Zapdos at this point before just retreating and going for a Thunderous Assault to take another prize here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the top 4 of an international championship. You don't take anything for granted. Make sure you're making all the correct plays so you can secure your spot in the finals. Jose draws an Acrobike. Okay.
When there's an Acrobike, there's hope.
Gives him some life. It's off camera. Can't really see what's in there.
Well, he's having to think, so he's not just dead in the water. He's got a Pikachu and Zekrom, Tapu Koko GX, a Thunder Mountain, and 2 more basic Pokemon.
Picked up a Zeraora GX.
Does he ever just use Zeraora's GX attack to get more energies into play here? He can't even do
that. Get 1
that.
energy.
Yeah.
Nope. Oh, man. This is heartbreaking for Jose.
Bench and pass. Back to Isaiah. He did have that Guzma from the Stellar Wish last turn.
Apparently that Jirachi's still asleep on his bench.
Yeah.
It's just the permanent state of Jirachi. You're gonna use Stellar Wish if it's active.
He knows he will.
Might as well just keep it tapped that way.
Untaps it simply to tap it straight again.
Yeah.
Here we go. Stellar Wish for the turn. He's got himself switch escape rope. He could take the rope just to take another single prize card. There's also Nest Ball available if he wants to develop more Jirachis for future turns.
Yeah, and Isaiah's just going to take such a massive lead in this game. Jose's Absol's already gone, so the Jirachi escape board engine is free to run wild. It's just going to allow him to build up resources in his hand. And when this Zapdos deck gets ahead in prize cards, it's just all downhill from there. It's just, you're going to be taking knockouts with Guzma. You're going to be picking up your Electro powers, taking big knockouts on GXs at some point. You just can't let this deck get too far ahead. It really forces you to have a response quickly. And if you ever stumble like Jose is doing right now, they're just going to close out the game before you can come back.
Yeah, it's really not the flashiest of decks. 80 doesn't feel threatening compared to some other attacks that we've seen this weekend, but it's just the raw speed and the frequency of getting hit for an 80 turn by turn.
No, Jose draws another energy switch. There's no energy to be switched.
Just a pass. Very, very upsetting for Jose here. What else can we say? The let loose has just finally got to him. Another switch in Isaiah's hand to reset his Zapdos.
Just brutal to watch. Isaiah, once again with a switch, gets to send out the Jirachi, Stellar Wish. He's going to get the knockout this turn with his Zapdos. Go down to 2 prize cards, and Jose just has not done anything this game. But, I mean, that's kind of the dangerous game you're playing. You live and die by the let loose. Sometimes you draw well, sometimes you play yourself, and there's not much to it.
I mean, on paper, this matchup was already difficult for Jose.
Yeah.
But he's really just not been able to demonstrate anything that his deck is capable of in this second game at all, which is a real shame to see. Isaiah picking up an Electro Power for a future turn as he's just going to once again retreat out that Jirachi freely, and he can Thunderous Assault and let the Shrine of Punishment help him out and take those 2 more prize cards.
One more knockout for Isaiah Williams. 2 prize cards stand between him and
my goodness.
between him and going to the finals of the Oceania International Championships as Jose draws a multi-switch. And Joe, there are still no energy to switch.
It's so rough to see. You question 6 copies of a card that does that, but when the deck's firing on all cylinders, it is the golden card in your hand that you're always looking to use. It's
Literally, his are gold.
Yes, yeah. But in these spots, they are pretty grim sights.
Yeah, I just hope Jose draws an energy so that he can play all of his energy switches and go out in style.
That's what we're all hoping for right now, Kyle. It's really the only thing we can hope for on Jose's side.
So Isaiah putting the escape board on his Zapdos so he can retreat for 1 energy. Send out another Zapdos, get the 70 bonus damage with Thunderous Assault, and now just 1 prize card. Hey, he drew the energy.
Play the hand. He can play the entire hand now.
Come on, you got to do it, right? I mean, you got to know you're not winning this game.
You've got to show them the hand. No, he just passes.
Oh,
Yeah.
he just concedes. All right. Isaiah Williams will advance to the finals here at the Oceania International Championships. Real tough break there for Jose. Just his deck did not cooperate at all. And I mean, I'm sure Isaiah will take that. Gets a nice, easy path to the finals.
Yeah, he's made it all the way with his 1 attacker this entire time, using Zapdos the whole way, alongside here and there some showings of Tapu Koko GX.